No. No, he doesn't notice anything. The only thing he notices are the waifus on his shelf. I nodded weakly before forcing myself to speak. I understand it's acting when you have to do the stuttery kind of speaking. I hate that shit so much. There's just something sonically about it I can't stand. But this, I know I said this in the last episode, but this guy is like literally on the verge of a fucking panic attack, and this doctor is like, get out of my fucking office, man. I don't want to deal with you. That wasn't it. That wasn't what I wanted to say. But I wasn't sure how to explain it, and couldn't get my thoughts together in my head. I lost my chance to speak. Yeah, they took it away. It's over. Game over, buddy. He scribbled something in his chart before spinning around to turn away from me, and then leaned forward toward the back of the exam room. Oh no. Get another woman in here. He's gonna be like, ooh, a 3D nurse. A young nurse came over. The doctor showed her my chart and said something softly to her, and then she quickly went back further into the room. What was that about? He turned to face me again. Then, in a gentle tone, he explained to me what sleepwalking was. Treating me like I was an idiot. To be fair, I was. When someone falls asleep, he said, first they enter REM sleep, and then non-REM sleep. And as we all know, REM stands for Rage Against the Machine. REM sleep was when I find myself funny. I don't care if anybody else does. REM sleep was when the body was asleep, but the brain was close to fully awake. Non-REM sleep was a deeper sleep, when the brain also rested. Dude, that lip flap's out of control. Look at him go. Thank goodness, you think I'd still be like hungover from the Super Bowl or something. I didn't even drink that much. I had one drink at the Super Bowl. I'm losing my touch. It's most common in children, but I guess it happens to fucking nitwit ass teenagers like yourself, Takumi Nishijo. You are not calling this guy an adult. I refuse to accept that. But I wasn't sleeping, and yet I was still doing things I don't remember. I was lost time. He was abducted by aliens. The whole time I'd been supposedly typing into that chat as Shogun in room 37, I thought I'd been playing ESO. What was that what you'd call sleepwalking? I wanted to ask, but the doctor just kept talking. Yeah, just go to bed right now. We'll find out. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Fuck you. Jibun no beddo. I love that. Jibun no beddo. I don't think that's any of your business, Doc. You think this guy's... You think Takumi Nishijo's got obsessive compulsiveness? No fucking way, man. No fucking way. Horny. That's the... He feels relaxed when he's horny. Yeah, he wants to just try taking a nap. I've never gone to a doctor for a checkup and they've been like, just try falling asleep. Just do it right here. Fuck it, what have you got going on? Probably nothing. You took the day off to come here. Just fall asleep. Fall asleep in this bed. kill your fucking sleep schedule. It wouldn't hurt to try. I could make sure I wasn't sleepwalking and then ask him the question I'd come to ask. Are my video game playing habits, are they a problem? Nah. The nurse, Hazuki, she's got a name. She's gonna name and a sprite. Something horrible's happening to her for sure. Oh boy. The nurse, Hazuki, led me to a bed in the back. It wasn't meant for sleeping, so it was hard and uncomfortable. Still, it was better than the sofa I was used to sleeping on. I mean, I've slept on many a sofa. Some of them are pretty comfortable. 3 hours, Jesus Christ. I mean, at that point, just let him go to bed. This nurse was really cute, but she was 3D. I lay on the bed, glancing at her, while trying to make sure our eyes didn't meet. So what are you looking at? She had a somewhat young, helpless-looking face. Can you imagine just looking at somebody like you just look helpless. And the air of someone whose life wasn't really working out the way they wanted it to. Still, she went about her work quickly and steadily. You look helpless and like your life is in shambles, says the guy who lives in a shipping container and fucking jerks it to a billion figurines. Yeah, here we go. She felt like one of the girls from an old H game. One set in a hospital with lots of I hate this dude. You should keep a fucking sword on him as best you can. Preferably in his jugular. I hate this man. In other words, she'd be watching to make sure I didn't get up and start walking around. Or to fucking just hit you with something. Yeah, Ayasumi. Whatever. Good night. She smiled a little before closing the curtains and leaving. Surrounded by the white curtains, I let out a deep breath. I could hear lots of things. The voice of the doctor as he examined his patients, the other nurses walking around, even the door as it opened and closed. It was pretty hard to relax. Could I really sleep like this? Probably not. Yeah, never mind. Out like a light. Tried to close my eyes just to see if it would work. The second I did, the Guro images that Shogun sent and the sight of the corpse nailed to the wall came flooding back to me. I could barely recall, but it's all flooding back to me now. I forced myself to think of Seiratan instead. I mean, there you go. Oh man, the jokes write themselves. This guy's a loser. I ain't partaking. I'm just playing it straight. You know, whatever basic gets you, that's what we're going for. Inside my delusion, she was happily bouncing up and down. Next, she whispered to me in a sweet voice. If only you listened to her when she said don't trust anybody, that it meant her too. 3D girls. I should have kept a counter going. A 3D girls counter every time it's said. Dork. I wish she'd put a little more venom on that. Seda, you're so cute. Seda. Que Seda, Seda. Whatever will be, will be. Seda was my ideal wife. After all, no girl could ever be better than her. You don't think I'm a loser, right, pink-haired delusion? 3D, who cares about 3D? The Science Adventure series does, because eventually these sprites are going to be animated 3D models. Someone somewhere does. I couldn't wait to go home. Seda would be waiting for me with a big smile and a welcome home. And a plasticine face, because she's not sentient. Just wait, Seda-tan. I'll be coming for you. Oh. What? Seda-tan softly put a hand on my chest and gently shook me awake. I always dreamed this day would come. Does he go for a kiss and the nurse is like, Kya, and then she smacks him? The day when Seda-tan and I would live together. Every day she'd wake me up wearing nothing but an apron, then she'd give me a good morning geese. But if you did that, she would be 3D. You can't get a kiss from a drawing. You dummy. I slowly opened my eyes. Somebody was looking down at me. Our eyes locked onto each other. Uh-oh, you made eye contact. Game over. It was the nurse, Hazuki. Oh. I quickly looked around. I was still in a hospital bed. I guess the part where Seda-tan was talking to me was just a dream. Ohio. I'm more of a Pennsylvania guy. Football. You slept for 3 whole hours. You told him to. It's been 3 hours already. It felt like it had only been 5 minutes. As I rubbed my eyes, Hazuki glanced at me. She was covering her hand with her mouth, seemingly on the verge of bursting out laughing. Oh, is he fully fucking erect? Oh, he calling out for his fake-ass girlfriend. Fuck this guy, is good. Be humiliated, idiot. Oh, I wish she'd have shouted it. Oh, say it, I'll say it. And then the nurse is like, what the fuck? I could feel the blood draining from my face. I'd screwed up big time. I'd let a normal person hear me talking in my sleep. And I'd been saying Seda-tan's name, of all things. Time to go kill myself. I don't want to encourage it, but I really don't like this guy. Yeah, at least you didn't sleepwalk. Huzzah. Success. As she spoke, she opened the curtains. And a crowd was watching like, ah, ha, ha, to point and laugh. No, I'm not a sleepwalker. I just need to ask the question I came here for. Is it possible to be playing a video game twice at once? But I didn't see the doctor. He was wearing reading glasses to show that time had passed. Hazuki offered me a sheet of paper. I looked at it. There were various questions for me to answer. We're going to give you a psych test is one question. Are you crazy? 2 answers possible, yes or no. They're really roughing it here in, where are they? Shibuya? Yeah. Mm-mm. Gomen nasai, I don't want to talk to you. He said, fuck you. Oh, he sounds like my doctor. Just keep an eye on it and let me know if it gets worse. To be fair, he wasn't my personal physician or anything like that. He'd probably just given Hazuki, his nurse, instruction. Oh, good. Thank you for the clarification. Instructions for me. But then, what was the point of even coming to this hospital? Good question. Almost like it's padding a runtime. I wanted to ask him about the awful possibility that I was being controlled by somebody who wasn't me. Only not really, because I'm not making him do anything. But Hazuki looked so apologetic that I didn't have the courage to demand to see the doctor. It's because she was a girl. I decided to just fill out the worksheet she had given me. And if you're wondering what I'm drinking tonight, it is Harpoon Flannel Friday. It's good stuff. If you like hoppier beers. I'd write out the symptoms I was experiencing on the back, I decided. Then I could come back next week to talk to him again. Do nothing more. Please do not come to us unnecessarily. We do not wish to treat you. Hazuki was kind enough to give me a full explanation. Yeah. Some of the questions on the test were weird. Not the sorts of things you'd expect to be asked at a hospital. I'm curious, will he give examples? It was almost like one of those online personality quizzes. What would answering these questions tell them? Was it like that, like, Myers-Briggs shit? Like, hasn't that been, like, debunked as, like, not real? Is that what they're asking him? Like, what would you do if you had to work in a team setting? Diagnoses, it's lupus. Hazuki was staring at me. She wasn't getting ready to leave. It didn't seem like she just had nothing better to do. She was observing me. No, watching over me like a suspicious 3D girl. Being watched made me nervous, and so it was hard to think about the questions, but I suppose that was just a nurse's job, to make a patient feel unwelcome and uncomfortable. I decided to just forget it. Forget it, forget it. Me, never mind. I let it and fill out the sheet. Oh, do I get to answer? So I guess yes or no means check or uncheck. Let's take this seriously. When you need to talk to someone, do you prefer a text instead of call? Yes. Do you sometimes have tinnitus? No. Have you ever felt someone's eyes on you and turned around? Yes. Do stationary objects sometimes seem to be moving toward you? No. Have you ever had a premonition that turned out to be right? I had a premonition the Eagles was going to win the Super Bowl. Yes. Fly, Eagles, fly. Have you ever checked a digital clock and seen the same numbers repeat? Yeah, at 2:22. Have you cried within the last month? Yes. Can you masturbate with using your imagination? Yeah. Can you stay focused on just one mental image when masturbating? Just one? Nah, it's gotta be moving. Can you fantasize about something with your eyes open? Yeah. Does the front of an automobile ever look like a face? Not a real... Yeah, sometimes it does. I was gonna say not a real one. Maybe in the Cars franchise. Do you have difficulty going to the bathroom after watching a horror movie? Mm-mm. Not a fan of haunted houses? I love haunted houses. When you start reading a book, do you lose track of time and immerse yourself? Yeah. Do you think aliens are real? Yes, but not here. They're like microbes and shit. When you look at your horoscope, is it always right? Fuck horoscopes. Do you get motion sickness easily? No. Do you think God exists? No. Do you have a sixth sense? No. When you sleep, do you dream in full color? Yes. When you're asleep, do you ever understand that you are dreaming? Yes. Have you ever experienced partial memory loss? No. Do you have trouble making eye contact? No. Does the sight of a lemon make your mouth full of saliva? I've never looked at a lemon like that. I'm gonna say no. When other people yawn, do you yawn? Yeah, it's contagious. Otsukaresama deshita. When I checked off the last few questions, Hazuki spoke to me before I had a chance to say anything to her. Do my choices actually matter in this, or do they only care about like one or two? Like, do you sleepwalk? Yes or no? I'm glad there's all those masturbation questions on there. Those are very important. I'd been really embarrassed having her watch me the whole time. My face had been red. Yeah, he got to them jack-off questions, and she was like... I quietly handed over the worksheet, trying not to look at her face. I hadn't had the time to write my symptoms on the back. Unfortunately, we have to write you a prescription for a firing squad. Oh, sick. Just giving some medicine just for shits and gigs. Cool. It's a great doctor's office. You should be excited. Talk me. I was getting some kind of prescription. The doctor hadn't said a word about that. Ease up, brother. It's just Dayquil. You're sick. You have the flu. Mild sedatives. Woohoo! Thanks, Doc. I was appreciative, but also the thought of waiting in that lobby again made me feel miserable. By the time I got back to Shibuya, it was evening. The hospital itself was in Shibuya Ward, but the closest station was Yoyogi. Taking the train was the fastest way to get there and back. Value of Death starts November 24th at 9 p.m. Sunday. So that's pretty good. We got some time. You know, we got a solid 9 months before the premiere. Good thing the billboard's already up. The Yamanote line was as crowded as ever, though, and riding just 2 stations was enough to make me feel exhausted. I didn't think I was up for getting on another train, so I decided to walk from Shibuya Station to the base. There were just too many people at the stations. I hated crowds. They always made me feel like I was gonna pass out. That's from your constant masturbating, dude. Give it a rest. I didn't want to spend any more time there than I had to, so I quickly tried to get across Scramble Crossing. Oh, is that the fun Shibuya? Is that the fun Shibuya sidewalk with the crosswalks that go like 6 different ways? Is that the fun one? That area was so packed, it was hard to even walk in a straight line. If you didn't keep a steady forward pace, you'd run into the people walking beside you or get hit from behind. I'm never worried about that. I'm dense, low to the ground. I'll bowl you out of my way. There were also people blocking your path, trying to hand you packs of tissues with ads on them. Well, that's what that is. They'd even force them into your pocket. I ignored the first one, but the second was a cute lady, so I took some from her. He's warming up to these 3D girls here. Those tissue people were just the worst. They shouldn't have been allowed to stand in the middle of the sidewalk like that. I took the tissues anyway, though, since they were free. You gotta whack it with something, right? I looked at the tissues I'd been given. The pack came with a small flyer with white text on a red background. It was a pretty weird color combination. Kind of spooky. It wasn't a combination you saw often. That much I was sure of. Yeah, it's a scarlet letter. I read the flyer as I walked along. There is a shortage of type B blood. There is currently a serious shortage of type B blood in Shibuya. We may no longer be able to deliver blood to all the patients that need it, and people may die. With your blood donation, he will not survive. Without your blood donation, he will not survive. Please come to the Blood Donation Center, Shibuya Inokashira Line building. It was a flyer for a blood donation. As I looked at it, I thought back to the worksheet I had been given. Can you focus on one image when you're jacking off? I hadn't seen anything like it when I'd gone there 4 years ago. Maybe it was some new kind of diagnostic that had only gotten popular over the last few years. But still, I felt like I'd seen it before. Yeah, 2 days ago when you were posting a Shogun. Deja vu. Again. Felt like that was happening all the time lately. It was really creepy when your body and mind refused to do what you wanted them to do. So I tried to dig through my memories to find out what was going on with this deja vu. My mother used to take me to the hospital about once a week. No matter what they asked, I'd never respond. I'd just move my head up and down or side to side. At first, they saw me in a normal exam room, but when I showed no signs of recovery, they started sending me someplace different. The other place was some kind of counseling room. It had a sofa and lots of stuffed animals, and a metal shelf with a bunch of figurines, and a computer with fucking spank material. And lots of stuffed animals, and it seemed to be put up with the aid, decorated with the aim of putting a patient at ease. Dr. Takashina never blamed anybody. He just kept trying to make me better. He was the only one who figured out that I could speak, but just didn't want to say anything. I felt like I had beer foam in my stash. Dr. Takashina, I already read that. My mother would always talk to me in a deliberately chipper voice. Dr. Takashina would always welcome me with a bright smile. The nurses were always kind too, and it felt to me like there had always been somebody else in that room. Oh my god. Very inconspicuous. Right. He was always wearing a dark black suit. It was a weird outfit to see in a hospital. I would be interested to go back and see if he was there in this original image that they showed earlier. I'm betting he's not. He was just as quiet as I was. I don't think I ever heard him talk. I never did figure out who he was. He didn't feel like a doctor. He always just stood off to the side, looking out the window. I always called him Mr. Nozomi. He'd never actually given me his name, though.
Nozomi.
Oh, Nozomi was the name of the test he just took, the little questionnaire he just filled out. That little questionnaire was called Nozomi. Oh, man. He plays a character in his video game called Lies a Lot, and this guy's name is Knows Me. Nobody knows me. Yeah. It read Knows Me. Oh, it's a company. It looked like a logo, so it probably wasn't a name tag. Yeah, the worksheet had the Knows Me. Oh, he figured it out too. I'm not special. No wonder I thought I'd seen it somewhere. I felt a little better now that the mystery was solved. Oh good, is the game over? What was Nozomi, though? It was clearly the name of some kind of company. Maybe. When I got back to the base, I ran a search for Nozomi, but it was just a common word that meant wish in Japanese, too. So there were too many results to narrow down. Man, I knew that. Thinking back, the logical assumption was that Mr. Nozomi worked for a company that made those worksheets and was a salesman that had been visiting the hospital. Sometime recently, he'd finally managed to sell a hospital on using the sheets, and today I'd been asked to fill one of them out. No, wait, that was impossible. I'd never heard of a salesman or somebody on the outside being allowed to sit in on a patient's sessions. Yeah, but you can just kind of do what you want these days. Just who was that guy? Crap. Now I had another nagging memory to deal with. At least I'd figured out where the deja vu was coming from. I decided that next week I would ask the doctor about my memories. Until then, I'd forget about school, fuck school, and just stay in my room. Today I don't feel like doing anything. I couldn't go to school if there was someone there trying to hurt me. I didn't want to break my schedule, but it wouldn't do me any good if I was dead. That does seem like a pretty major hindrance on things, yeah. I have to agree with him there. I gave up on my search for Nozomi and went to the @ channel to see if there were any interesting threads. Let's see, Nude Gen, group dive, Nude Gen, pregnant man, Nude Gen crucified, Nude Gen to be continued, Gwa. The news board was filled with nothing but new generation madness threads. Even the ESO board had to recreate the New Gen murders in ESO thread going. I was getting sick of it. Prude. I mean, every time you log into this game, you're staring at the same staircase, just bouncing up and down, fucking, like, rocking out style. Oh, never mind. He's moved locations, but now he's bouncing a lot faster. @Chan's news boards have been boring as hell lately. It's all New Gen. It's the biggest story right now. Every time there's a new case, it's a big festival. Everybody goes crazy. They haven't caught the killer yet? Well, you know, the cops are morons, lol. Some idiots have even decided that it's actually a cute moe girl. No, that's just your boy. That demon girl. Demons. Visions of the dark eyes of the girl I'd seen during the crucifixion killing came back to me, and I shivered, just like his player character. I didn't want to remember it at all, but the slightest little thing and the memories came flooding back. I'd seen the killer's face. I knew who she was. Should I have told the cops? But I didn't want to get involved. Demon Girl. Is that the latest variation? One's going a little too far. Anyway, New Gen's just fascinating stuff. I joined a New Gen community on Furepara. Is that the furry version of something? Geh. Seriously? If that was true, then I wouldn't be able to keep up with the discussion in our chat channel. Oh, he's the only one who's not into New Gen. New Gen's just really messed up stuff. It's crazy to read about. Yeah, I knew you were into that good-o stuff. But don't tell me you're the kind of guy who wants to see art in his murders. His murders. Nah, it's like the ultimate kind of S&M. This guy's a goner. This guy's a gooner. Somebody needs to do something about him. Once you lose your virginity, you'll understand. It's fucking got him. So you're telling me you're not a virgin? That face. Bah! You traitor ors. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff on the aggregator sites. Take a look sometime. I didn't want to look at them, they scared me. I wanted to run away from the fact that I'd been at the murder scene. That's why I'd cut myself into pieces off from all information about New Gen. That was how I'd hoped I could convince myself that it was all just a delusion. But in ESO, I was practically a god. That's the ultimate delusion, brother. It wasn't enough to be strong. I had to know everything. You know, just like gods. Especially since I was kind of a leader in the guild. I'm leadership material. My sources, I made it the fuck up. If I was supposed to be the leader, but I couldn't even keep up with whatever everyone was talking about, it would just be embarrassing. You know, if there's one thing I've learned about leadership, current events, Not a necessary trait. I had to avoid that. I went to the address that Grimm gave me. The top banner read New Gen Aggregator in big letters. Actually, the top banner says Delude. Aggregator sites were kind of wiki. Oh, they were kind of wiki. I thought he said they're kind of wiki. He was like how he describes things as being kind of moe, but it's like kind of wiki, where any number of people could add information to articles about a certain topic. A New Gen aggregator site would have information about New Gen constantly updated by different users. Some of that information wasn't trustworthy in the slightest, and sometimes there were trolls. But if you wanted an easy way to get a handle on the basic facts of something, it was good. There were always tons of links, for one thing. I decided to start with an article called The Case So Far. My pulse started to quicken. Just reading the site was enough to make me nervous. I could feel the sweat forming on my hands. The earthquake 2 months ago. 3 bizarre incidents in a row. Body nailed to concrete wall. Neighbors heard sound of a nail being pounded in. Different killer for each. Crucified pregnant man. Group dive. Victim was 56-year-old college professor. Which one? The first case, the one they called Group Dive, was when a group of 5 boys and girls from a high school had all jumped off a building. It happened on September 7th, about a month ago. It was in the middle of the night, at a place called Shibuya Cornelius Tower. The 5 had jumped off the building's helipad and died instantly on impact. Well, the autopsy showed that each of them had DNA belonging to someone else under their nails, and there were scratch marks found too. Yeah, they all clawed each other, and then over they went. It was theorized from this that the 5 of them must have jumped off while holding hands. Or, yeah, maybe that happened. I guess that is a more reasonable thing to think. There was no sign of any kind of suicide note left on the roof. Below the summary was some information added by some internet detective. These types are often referred to as snakes. There may be snakes who'd actually gone to Cornelius Tower. Was any of them named Jake? Or Damien? Damien was the snake. Jake was just a guy. According to him, the roof was off limits to visitors, and the door to it was kept locked at all times. Of course, it was locked at the time of the jump, too. None of the deceased had a key on their bodies when they'd been found. This meant that the helipad was, in a way, a locked room. Even though it's open on a roof. Like you saw in a murder mystery. There was nothing to suggest how the 5 of them had gotten up there. They were dropped off by a helicopter, because they're on a helipad. It was entirely likely that someone else had been there as well. The second case, the pregnant man, happened on September 19th, around 12 days after the first. Early in the morning, near Shibuya Station underpass, a college student was walking home from karaoke when they'd found a blood-stained man collapsed on the ground. The collapsed man was a university student who lived in Shibuya Ward named Chizuo Konoe, age 21. He was dead when he was found, but he had an unnatural bulge in his stomach. I've got a bulge in my stomach too, but it's natural. It's called sandwiches. Lots of them. I do apologize. The autopsy showed that someone had opened up his chest, shoved a newborn baby into his stomach, and then sewn him back up. Oh, that's fucked. It's like a reverse chest burster. In addition, DNA analysis had shown there was no relation between the baby and the man. He was, according to reports, unmarried and had no girlfriend. So no bitches. That's an interesting thing. does that make it better or worse that he wasn't related to the baby that was sewn inside of him? The result of it was internet speculation, but the baby appeared to be in the 32nd week of pregnancy, which would mean it was probably removed from the mother by C-section. Who the mother was, though, or where she was, or... Oh, I thought it was going to say what she was. I was like, that's not nice. Or what she was doing, or even if she was alive or dead. None of that was known. It was possible that the cops knew. They did not. But if they did, they weren't talking. I looked away from the monitor, feeling like I was about to throw up. That was disgusting. This killer was insane. I knew that for sure. And it was also possible that it was that girl. That girl had been behind these horrible murders. Yeah, she looks like the type that would sew a baby into someone. Well, Japan screwed. They can't get it all on. Can't get the whole thing on there because the camera is just not enough real estate. I took a moment to gaze at my beautiful Seira-tan. Looking at her helped me calm down. I thought about taking the sedatives the doctor had given me, but for now, Seira-tan was a good enough sedative. Sorry I keep poking at my eye. It's crusting up on me and I hate it. Ugh. Still, though, I had to do it to keep up Nightheart's reputation as a leader. But reading these hurt. Jalen Hurts, Fly Eagles Fly. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! I want to get a new Kelly Green jersey so bad. If any of you follow me, you know I posted a picture of myself in my Eagles jersey last night, and that shit is shredded. Oh, she's into masochism? Alright. Bet. Oh. Yeah, just have fun. That's a great way you should say that to depressed people. Just have fun. Don't be depressed. Have fun. That is helpful, thank you. You can use me to jerk off like you usually do if you want. Well, it's nice of you to approve. Seira-tan was such a nice girl. Yeah. She was my only true ally. My wife. I put my elbow on the table and rested my head in my hand, taking deep breaths as I stared at Seira-tan's smile. Phew, I felt so much better. He's there looking at his doll like panting like a dog. Maybe I could read a little more if I took breaks to glance over at Seira-tan. I decided to give it a try. There you go. I mean, it's all about finding balance in life. That's feng shui. I respect that. Why had these two seemingly separate incidents both been given the label of New Generation Madness? The group dive was treated as just a suicide at first. But after the pregnant man case, the net started taking another look at the group dive and found out how many strange elements there were to the case. Speculation began that it was actually a murder and not a suicide. Supposedly, the parents of the dead kids and their friends all said there was no way they could have killed themselves. Since both the cases were in Shibuya, a traditional center for young people, the news started calling it the madness created by the new generation of youth. And then they realized, fuck, that sucks. And then simply, the New Generation Madness. The name stuck. I guess it had to. And then there was the third case, the crucified murder, they were calling it. That was the one I'd seen. The aggregator site didn't have much information on the case because it was so new. Or is it new? Did it happen in the future? Did he see it in the future? Did he cause it in the future? Is that going to be the twist? I hope I don't have to wait 25 more hours to find out. The murdered man was Hisa Ota, a 56-year-old college professor. He'd been nailed with the stakes to the concrete wall of an empty house. Starting at 8 p.m., the estimated time of the crime, neighbors heard what sounded like something hammering a nail. The sound lasted for approximately an hour. I'd heard that sound too. I could still hear it. It was an awful sound. For what it was worth, no connection had been found between it and the group dive or the pregnant man. But after 3 bizarre incidents in the same city of Shibuya, everyone naturally treated the crucified murder as the third part of the new generation madness. The media and police were saying that all 3 were committed by different individuals, but the position, or rather hope, of most people online was that it was a single person, or failing that, a single group. That's what they were hoping for, huh? Shibuya 107. Slave card? Slave card? Yeah, I'm gonna put this on my slave card real quick. What the fuck? I mean, I guess, and that kind of, credit cards kind of make you feel shitty like that, I guess. There were some bizarre theories involving the occult going around, too. And some people were saying New Gen got its start in the earthquake 2 months ago. Do you imagine if Ken Takakura, good old Okaroon from Dandadan, was in this? He'd be freaking out. 2 months ago, there'd been an Intensity 3 earthquake in Shibuya. An Intensity 3 quake was small enough that you could be walking down the street and not feel it. But despite the small size of the quake, it had made the news because 8 people had died. Looking back, it was true that the New Gen incidents had started after the earthquake. It was like was it like a shaking baby sort of thing? Like, and then it was like, oh no, I guess I have new generation madness now. So the proponents of the occult theory were saying that the 8 deaths in the earthquake could be counted as the first New Gen case. Yes, it was murder caused by earthquake. Sometimes they'd get into arguments with the more mainstream New Gen theorists. That's the best part of a conspiracy, is when it starts to cannibalize itself. You're seeing that to a degree with Flat Earth. You know, some of those guys went and finally saw a 24-hour sun and they're like, fuck. But then there were the others who are like, you are Satan. So that's when it gets fun. A lot of people online were eagerly awaiting a 4th incident, too. Sick. If I wasn't directly involved, I might have been all wuktuk. I forget what wuktuk means, so I'm just going to refer to it as wuktuk, which is short for like walk talk. I've been all walkie-talkie myself, participating in the festival and eagerly awaiting for a 4th incident, too. Damn it. They were all having so much fun while I was feeling miserable. Sucks to suck. Yeah, catch the murderer so that I can feel better about myself. It had been over a week since Crucified, and there had been nothing from the demon girl or the police. If they knew I was there, at a minimum the police would have come to talk to me, but there was no sign of them. Phew. It looked like I was going to be able to stay out of this, to not get involved. Knock, knock, knock. Yua's words flashed through my mind. Oh, she looked so disappointed. Just when I was about to finally relax, I suddenly found myself feeling awful again. The photos that Shogun had sent me, they were still stored on my computer. Everything Yua had said was just a figment of her own delusions. It was crazy. It wasn't even a real theory. You went to the doctor about it, though. I hadn't been able to ask about it at the hospital, but there was no way I could have been someplace else while I was awake, doing something I didn't remember. It was impossible. It never happened before, for one thing. I mean, shit, this guy's 17 years old. He would know. He would know. All that life experience, those good old photos had to be fake. She said, prove it, bitch. But they're creepy, and I don't really want to look at them. They're too scary. So scary. No, you won't. It's over. You're the protagonist in a science adventure game. Any attempt at normalcy is gone. It's over. You gotta do it. Yeah, that's right. Yua seemed convinced that I was the one behind Crucified, but that was impossible. I don't do anything. I'd seen the person who'd actually done it. I couldn't let her blame me for the crime. I gulped and double-clicked to open the folder where my cash was stored. Yasuji Ban entered the big conference hall at the Shibuya police station for the first time in 3 days. Sorry guys, went on vacation. The conference, for what was being called the Maruyamacho crucifixion murder, had already begun, and some of the officers were glaring at him for being late. Ban forced a weak smile at them before sitting down, telling them he'd been in the toilet. He'd been in it. He was throwing up inside the toilet. Fucking upper decker style. Didn't seem like it would suit the current mood. They'd assembled a task force to handle the Maruyama crucifixion murder in the morning after the incident. We've been sitting here for 3 days. Nothing has happened. Fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine style. Between the Cornelius Tower group suicide and the Shibuya Station area man-baby murder. The man-baby murder. No, that's for Takumi Nishijo later. That's the man-baby murder. The police force was already stretched then. Sucks to suck. So even Ban, a nobody lieutenant from Section 1 of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, had been sent in to help out the Shibuya ward cops. Since all 3 cases had happened in the jurisdiction of the Shibuya police, there was now a highly unusual situation. 3 different special task forces at a single station. Because of this, the team had to take turns scheduling their day in the big conference room. Since the media kept calling it the New Generation Madness, there was a rumor going around that they were going to resolve the shortage of officers by bringing all 3 together under a New Gen Special Task Force. All of the officers thought it was a stupid idea, but that didn't mean it wouldn't happen. No, you can't have my report. Captain Matsunaga was Ban's boss and the leader of the task force. He glanced sharply at Ban. But Ban didn't notice. He took a deep breath while waving a paper fan at his face. He's calling you. Look at this little baby boy. This little baby copper boy. Fuck this boy. His stupid slanted face. It's like he's trying to smile and frown at the same time. His mouth is a broken paperclip. Only when Ban's partner, a rookie detective named Sua, whispered to him did he realize he was being called on. I'm looking at a version of myself, and I don't like it. This guy looks like me if I dress like Columbo. After a sharp elbow from his older partner, the bionic elbow Sua sighed and stood up. I quit. Oh no, is the suspicious figure me? Murmurs broke out in the room. The air instantly became tense. No one cared. The detectives from the Shibuya police all began to scribble down notes, careful not to miss anything he said. They were desperate to solve this case. There had been 2 brutal murders. The group dive was still classified as a suicide in the span of a single month in their district. They needed to catch the person responsible, and now, even if it meant dropping their usual stoic demeanor. Yeah, it tends not to be helpful when you're solving a murder to go into it and be like, whatever. Yeah. See, that's the problem, is it's in camouflage print. Sua put an image up on the projector screen, just like Bon had told him to do before they'd started. It showed a narrow, dirty back alley in Maruyamacho. It was night, and there were few lights, so it was hard to see much of anything at all. No way. The parking lot was a tiny one, with no more than 2 spaces. It was located on a tiny strip of land, crammed between buildings. From here, you couldn't see the crime scene. You could barely see the road in front of it. It showed the road a street away from where the killing took place. There was no audio on it either. The footage had a timestamp at the bottom right. It read 21:34. I'm sure you're aware, but that guy's talking. Didn't they say they heard it for an hour, or did they say a half hour? Half hour, I guess. The suspicious person appears around 21:34:53. Am I gonna see it? Oh, look at this, our boy. Look at our boy. Look at our shitty little boy. Look at him run. He got that fucking Ed and Eddie stride there. Then a person appeared on the screen. They were running toward the camera in a clearly disturbed manner. The camera's resolution was low enough that it was hard to immediately tell if the person was male or female. Yeah, but Bon had already spoken to the science lab and had them analyze it. According to science, this is Takumi Nishicho. This is from science. They weren't able to get a physical description. Hair, blue, build, slender. He's a slender man. In his migi, what's he got in his migi? Close up of a hand, and it was holding something. So the resolution isn't good enough to get his face, but it's good enough to be able to see reflections from the stake he's holding. When it was time to reveal the big discovery, Bon took over. More murmurs. The killer behind the crucified murder might be a teenager. That was a shock. As we all know, teenagers never kill. Maybe the media's new generation madness was more than just a catchy slogan. Yeah. Bond stroked his unshaven chin. It was a habit of his. Whenever he got a step closer to... I put it on auto. Suicide and sat down. Yeah, I quit again. Bon ignored Sua's complaints and stared at the image of the teenage boy on the projector. So I'm gonna go bust into his fucking storage container. Look for any blue-haired kids who show up to the school. It's a terrible background. I found the image Shogun sent me in my cache folder. It was a JPEG numbered 168491. Leon. There's still a big part of me that didn't want to look at it. I mean, it was disgusting. Oh my god, if I looked at it, I was sure to remember the scene as it was in the real world. No, but if I was going to prove you were wrong and prove my innocence and that I was safe, you're not safe. I would never trust anyone around you, brother. I would need proof. Sedatan was here to help too. I could handle a little gore. I worked up my courage, double-clicked on the file to open it. Bring it on. Ooh, it looks fine. It's a very nice Silent Hill 1-ass camera angle here. Whoever put the security camera up, that's what they were going for. It's like, I want you to make it look like you're going down that alleyway in the first Silent Hill game, right before you transition to the other world. Yeah, it was gory, alright, but compared to what I'd seen in the real world, it wasn't that bad. And it was fake, too, right? I mean, I can handle that. First time I'd looked at it, I'd only taken a quick glance before closing it. I hadn't looked at the whole image from top to bottom. This time, I was able to take a closer look, even if I had to suppress the urge to vomit. I didn't know how to tell if an image was fake. Did you look at the direction of the shadows, the background, things like that, and see if anything was wrong? Well, nowadays, you just check and see that a hand has all 5 fingers. It seemed to me the most likely possibility was that they'd taken a photo of the alley first and then added in the staked corpse later. And then, the day after Shogun sent this to me, they'd carried out the murder just like in the photo. Bit of a stretch. Because of the darkness and the low resolution of the photo, I couldn't tell much about the body, only the stakes were clearly visible. The light was focused on the area surrounding the corpse, as if that was the only thing they wanted the viewer to see. It felt like whoever had taken the picture had framed it like that deliberately. There was no way the light shining right on the body and nowhere else was a coincidence. Or maybe it was a coincidence. There's no way. But maybe. Never say never, but never. I hadn't gotten a clear look at the scene when I was there for real, so I couldn't say for sure. The demon girl wasn't in the picture. But if you stared at the picture until you thought your eyes would bleed, you could make out what looked like a person in the darkness in the left edge. Is that true? I don't know. I guess I see something like right here about. Oh, wait. You can't see it. You can't see my mouse because I got it. There is a little something up at like the top center that I'm kind of seeing, but it looks like a door or like a stanchion. You know, like one of those things that prevents a car from crashing into a Denny's. I almost missed it. Between the low resolution and how they were standing in the shadows, they were almost impossible to spot. On my first glance, I missed them completely. Are you going to zoom in and show me? Because I see not what the fuck you're talking about. This was a doctored photo, or it should have been. So maybe the person who took it let themselves get photographed by accident. And then forgot to delete it when they added in the corpse. They were wearing a suime. I don't see anybody. Fuck is he talking about? But the person in the photo seemed to have short hair. Like, I'm trying to, I see nothing. Does anybody else see it? I don't see anybody. The demon girl had long hair, so did Yua. I decided to use image processing software to make it easier to see. I booted up the software and dragged the image on top of it. Then I gulped before going to the level adjustment slider in the menu. I made the photo brighter and... yeah, I wasn't going to see that. What was this? Ha 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 ha. What's going on? Hi. Back body drop. The person in the photo was without question me. Why me? How could this happen to me? This made no sense. I'd never even been there until September the 29th. This is fake too. It had to be. I couldn't find any evidence of it at all, but it was definitely fake. It had to be. Shogun had sent it to me on the 28th, and the crucified killing had happened on the 29th. If this photo showed what happened on the 29th, it would be a photo of the future. No need to yell. Be like me, keep an even keel. I kicked an empty plastic bottle at my feet, shut down the image program. I opened up the properties menu to see when this JPEG file was created, and then I gasped. It had been created on the 28th, but that didn't matter now. There was something written in the comments section of the properties window. That's what my eyes were glued to. What are those? Ugh. I slammed my fingers down on the keyboard before pushing it into the side of the desk and cradling my head in my hands. What a baby. Oh, Santa, please save me from being a murder suspect. I couldn't have killed anybody. Ask my doll. I tried to stop myself from crying. And I couldn't. What the hell had been going on this whole week? Why was all this happening to me? Such a stand-up guy. Wait a second. Say Shogun had gotten a photo of me from somewhere and used it to put me in this good old photo. That would mean they'd either taken the photo of me themselves well before the murder or gotten a photo of me from some other place. Given that they'd come into the chat room out of nowhere and started talking as soon as Grimm left, they were after me from the start. Maybe Shogun knew who I was, that maybe he was just jealous that I was so good at this video game. If he did, there was no telling when he or the demon girl would attack the base, and then they'd kidnap me, and then they'd turn me into a llama. Criminal masterminds. I felt the prickling on the back of my neck. That gaze again. I was being watched by someone. Don't look at me. I refused to look behind me. Time for the I'm not turning around so easily game. I love this one. I was shaking with terror. I wanted to go check the lock on the door, but if I looked around, I'd lose. I stubbornly stared at the monitor instead. To calm myself, I opened up a word processor program and typed the thoughts that came to me. Demon girl equals murderer, can see the future. Shogun equals working for the demon girl. Yua equals working for Shogun. As I stared, quivering at the word demon, I started to wonder if the girl I'd seen at the murder scene really was one. I mean, she is cute. Could she really be a demon? Isn't that how that works? You're too cute to be a demon. Yeah, she wasn't human. That had to be it. Maybe that's how she was able to see the future. Her demon powers would let her create a photo of what was going to happen. That would explain how she could do that terrible crucified murder all by herself, too. Solid. And Shogun worked for her. They knew I was going to witness the crime by accident, so they sent me the image in advance. I didn't know why. Maybe it was a threat. If you tell anyone, this is what will happen to you next. Or maybe it was a warning. A death sentence, telling me that I'd be next, if that was the case. Oh yeah, because you totally had a shot before. Here's hoping. Yeah, you think if they would wanted to kill your bitch ass, they'd have done it by now. Angela Lerva. Angela Lerva? Okay. Yua Kusunoki was staring at the computer in her room. She had a serious look at her face, and she was quickly reading through the information on her screen. Oh, hit the B button by mistake. Eventually, she let out a small sigh and took her hand off the mouse before looking over at the piece of paper in front of her. It was a printout of the chat log between Shogun and Neidhart, the same as the one she'd shown Takumi Nishijo yesterday. She whispered his name. Images of him sitting alone on the bench in Shoto Park came back to her. She shook her head as if trying to drive them away. She's legit got the hots for him. That's fucking crazy. He sucks. And then suddenly she gasped and turned around. Whose eyes are those? Her own gaze was locked on the big Garo Froggy plush that lay on her bed. Hell yeah, big frog plush like that. It must have been her imagination, she decided. She stood up, walked over to the bed, and fell onto it face first. Oh. My bed right there. I'm about to hit that. Hey, we ain't going much longer. That's about to be me. Not the glasses on, though. And my eyes will be fully closed. But I'll be like... The sheets smelled like a sunny day. The china had never been used. The sheets smelled like a sunny day. Her mom must have dried them outside this afternoon. As she buried her face in the pleasant scent, she looked around the room. Her room was kept neat and clean, a sign of her slightly obsessive personality. Yes, only obsessive people are clean. The largest object in the room was a huge bookshelf, packed tight from corner to corner with books. But what made it kind of cute was the bottom was stuffed with complicated technical and computer books, but the top was filled with shoujo manga and anime DVDs. She let out another sigh and looked up at the ceiling. Dissociative identity disorder. No. Damsel in distress. Dissociative identity disorder, aka multiple personalities. A state where one person has multiple different personalities inside them, with personalities being defined as a continuous state of being aware of oneself and one's surroundings with the ability to think and act. In other words, humans construct a self by being aware of continuous time and the consistency of their actions and the information they receive. People with this disorder switch personalities without warning, with psychological/social stress and environmental factors commonly serving as triggers. Yeah, she whispered the name of blah, blah, blah. She had an explanation, blah, blah, blah. Bedtime. She looks like she wants to nibble cheese. A little mousy, just take a little cheese and just, fucking rodent style. She gave the stuffed Garo Froggy on her lap a tight squeeze and thought about Takumi. Wished it was his neck. But And then her expression went blank. She gritted her teeth hard. We'll kill him. Man, I wanted her to say some sort of threat. He felt her bloodlust. It hurt to breathe. All I was doing was looking up some stuff on the computer, but I could feel my heart pounding far faster than normal. The sensation that something was watching me just wouldn't go away. I was still restraining the urge to turn around, but I wouldn't be able to do it much longer. Just like I'm not going to be able to stay awake much longer. So, next time on Chris the Nerd Plays Chaos at Noah, we die.